All right, so today's webinar is really going to dive into our facility environmental module. The facility environmental module is a sustainability assessment tool, and it standardizes how facilities measure environmental performance at their facility site year over year. The module is intended to measure and quantify the sustainability impacts at a facility, reduce redundancy in how these sorts of assessments are measured. So a facility only needs to complete one module per year and can share it with multiple business partners. It's intended to drive business value by that learning journey of discovering where the opportunities for improvement are, where there might be some risks, and where there might be some process improvements in sustainability. And then creating common language on how you communicate these issues with both internally and your stakeholders and business partners. I think everybody's familiar with the 7 impact areas that the module covers, but just as a reminder, environmental management systems, energy and greenhouse gas emissions, water use, wastewater and effluent, air emissions, waste, and chemicals management are the areas that this module covers. Then a few key concepts that I want to introduce about the module just to level set. The facility module is a performance improvement framework first and foremost. This is not a pass-fail audit. This is a way to assess your current performance and hopefully help identify a strategy for moving forward towards improvement. A facility or a factory site will complete one facility module per year, and that module will be measuring 1 calendar year's worth of performance. So in this year's case, we are measuring the most recent full calendar year, which is 2017. So when you see the module pop up, it'll say 2017 module. It is a self-assessment, so you're assessing how you're doing at your facility site. But you do have the option to conduct verification. We have a verification process available for the facility environmental module this year. So if that's something you're interested in, would like to do, that is available. The other new and improved part of the facility environmental module are that we're only going to measure impacts for a specific facility that are applicable to that facility. So you're only answering questions that are relevant to your processes or practices, and those are evaluated in certain sections of the module, which we're going to cover momentarily. The other big change is that the facility environmental module score is going to be shown as a percentage-based score. So the reason for that is because we are now not asking all facilities all the same questions. We're only asking questions that are applicable to that specific facility. We need a way to create comparative scoring. And so percentage-based scores allow us to do that. So you're only scored on the questions that are applicable to your facility. And then finally, benchmarking and analyzing results. We are improving the benchmarking features in the modules so that not only are we benchmarking scores, but we're also benchmarking quantitative performance, such as energy use at the facility site. The next piece I wanted to go through is the structure of the module itself. So this is what the panel looks like inside the actual platform. You're going to see kind of the 7 impact areas plus site information. But each section is structured slightly differently. In terms of the flow of questions that it's asking and the performance that it's trying to drive. So there's kind of 3 categories of sections that we have developed. The first category is called continuous improvement sections. So that covers the energy, the water use, and the waste sections. And these are really your performance improvement, your standard performance improvement journey sections where you understand the sources and how much of those resources that you're consuming at your facility, baselining your performance and understanding where you are today in how much, for example, energy you're using at your facility site, And from there, setting targets and an action plan to drive reductions in the use of those resources. Then you demonstrate reductions and ultimately land in leading practices of sustaining reductions over time and being super efficient and things like that. So these are your typical, measure where you are today and start ratcheting down, reducing your impacts. The next type of section that we have in here are what we call pollutant limits. So that this applies to wastewater and air emissions. In these sections, it's a little bit different. You're not really, it's not as fluid. There are regulations and pollutant limits that you are expected to meet depending on where you're located and what type of facility you are, for example. And so in this case, you really just need to know your sources and volumes of these pollutants. You need to know the quality of the pollutants and whether they're up to permit or standard and what those permits and standards are. Controlling your quality and taking specific actions to improve the quality of pollutants with regards to either wastewater or air emissions, and then demonstrating leading practices. So are you implementing new equipment that is helping reduce, for example, refrigerant use or something like that? So those are pollutant limits. And then the last type of section in the facility environmental module are management sections. So environmental management systems and the chemicals management section are really about your internal management practices and policies on how you are managing these issues. So do you have the right staff in place that are focused on these issues? Are you adhering to rules and regulations in your region for these issues? Do you have strategies in place to take action to improve your policies and practices? Have you taken management actions and how you are managing these issues, improving management practices, things like that? And then ultimately, of course, leading practices. So are you engaging upstream or with your community? Are you driving innovation, traceability, things like that? So those are the kind of the three categories of sections that you're going to run into in the facility environmental module. The